Welcome to DJ's Dancefloors and I-Dos, a podcast that helps engaged couples like you plan an unforgettable wedding day, one beat at a time. Hello there, I'm your host, Shane Griffin, professional wedding DJ and MC with over 20 years experience, and right here, I share real advice, smart planning tips, and behind-the-booth insights to help you feel confident, organized, and ready to celebrate your big day. Congratulations! Whether you're just starting out or deep into wedding planning, you are in the right place. Thanks for being here. Before we get started with today's episode, a couple of quick reminders. First, check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Shane Griffin Entertainment, and also find us on TikTok at Let Shane Entertain. Secondly, like and subscribe this podcast so you can be alerted when new episodes drop. And third, check our website, letshaneentertain.com, where you can find our list of entertainers, pricing, our informative blog, and our vendor referral partners. Everything you need to help you make informed entertainment decisions. And lastly, I've developed a free ebook, and it's titled The Bride's Guide to Wedding DJs, and it's available to you for free. No strings attached. If you'd like a copy emailed to you, simply send me an email, shanegriffinentertainment@gmail.com. That's shanegriffinentertainment@gmail.com, and I'll send it right out to you. This is episode 22. How many songs should you give your wedding DJ? Now let's talk about one of the questions I hear almost every single week. How many songs, Shane, do you actually need from us? It's a simple question, but the answer surprises almost every couple because the answer isn't the more the better. In fact, sometimes the opposite is true. I can't tell you how many planning meetings begin exactly the same way. The bride reaches into a folder, or nowadays she opens Spotify or Apple Music, smiles and says, "We've been working on our playlist." Then she shows me or hands me the list, and sometimes it's 20 songs. Sometimes it's 50. Sometimes it's over 200. And then comes the question, is this enough? Or should we keep adding songs? I usually smile because I know where the conversation is headed. I tell them, before we talk about how many songs you've picked here, let's talk about why you've picked these songs. Because that's really the important question. When you're planning your wedding, you naturally want to make sure your favorite songs get played, right? That makes perfect sense. You think, I don't want the DJ to miss this one. So you add another song, and then another, and then another. And pretty soon, you've got 3 separate playlists, one for cocktail, one for dinner, one for dancing, and before you know it, your DJ has enough music for like 15 hours. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with sharing your favorite music. In fact, I encourage it. But here's the thing. There's a difference between telling your DJ what you love and trying to script out every single minute of the reception. Those are 2 very different things. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I worked with a couple who absolutely loved music. I mean, every genre, every decade. They had spent months putting together playlists. By the time we met, they had given me well over 250 songs, and they were very proud of that. And honestly, they did have great taste. There wasn't a bad song on that list, in my opinion. But I asked them one question. I said, what happens if the dance floor tells us something different? They looked at me, kind of puzzled. I said, what if your guests unexpectedly love Motown? What if your college friends want those 2000s throwback hip-hop songs? What if your grandparents stay on the dance floor longer than anybody expected? They had not thought about that because they were focused on the songs. I, as the professional wedding DJ, am focused on the people. And that's the difference. A playlist cannot read a room. A professional wedding DJ can. One thing I tell couples all the time is this. Your reception is not a concert. It's not about playing every song you love. It's about creating moments. And sometimes the right song is your favorite song. Other times, the right song is the one that gets 80 different people singing together at the top of their lungs. Those aren't always the same song, and that's okay. A great reception has highs, it has slow moments, It has surprises. It builds energy during the evening. That's almost impossible to do if you're locked into a playlist that has to be followed exactly. That's why flexibility is one of the most valuable things you can give your professional DJ. So, how many songs should you actually give your DJ? Here's my recommendation. About 15 to 25 must-play songs. Not 100, not 200, just the songs that truly matter. The songs where if they never got played, you would notice. Maybe it's your first concert together. Maybe it's the song that was playing when he proposed. Maybe it's the song that always gets your college roommates up and dancing. Those belong on your must-play list. Everything else? Give your professional DJ room to work, because that's what you hired and paid them to do. If you're enjoying today's episode, I'd love for you to subscribe to DJ's Dancefloors and I Do's and leave us a review. It really helps more engaged couples discover the program. And if you're still planning your wedding entertainment, don't forget to request your free copy of the Bride's Guide to Wedding DJs. Just email me at shanegriffinentertainment@gmail.com. That's shanegriffinentertainment@gmail.com, and I'll send over this free 8-page guide, no strings attached. Now back to episode Double Deuce 22. Trust me, less is usually more. One of my favorite planning meetings happened with a couple a few weeks ago, actually. Toward the end of that meeting, I asked them, "So, what are your must-play songs?" The bride kind of looked over at her fiancé. He looked back at her, and they smiled and said, "Honestly, we only have about 15. I said, "Perfect!" She looked surprised. She said, "Really? That's enough?" I said, "It's more than enough." She actually thought she was making my job more difficult by giving me fewer songs. And the reality is, she was making my job easier, because now I understood what truly mattered to them. Those 15 songs became anchors during the evening. I knew they had to be played. Everything else I could build around the energy of the room, and that's exactly what happened. The dance floor stayed full all night. The guests had an incredible time, and at the end of the evening, the bride hugged me and said, "It felt like you knew exactly what everybody wanted to hear in the moment." And here's the funny part. I didn't know exactly what everybody wanted to hear before the wedding. I figured it out in the moment during the wedding. And that's what a professional wedding DJ does. Here's something I wish every couple could experience. Stand behind the DJ booth for about 10 minutes. You'd see things completely differently. The dance floor is constantly communicating. People don't use words, but they're telling you everything. They're telling you when they're getting tired. They're telling you when they're ready for a sing-along. They're telling you when they're ready for a slow song to get close. And they're telling you when they're ready to turn the party up another notch. It's a conversation, but not with words, but with energy. And that's why I can't simply look down at a playlist and say, "Well, song number 37 is next." What if the room isn't ready for song number 37? Or what if they're having so much fun with song number 36 that we should stay in that style for another 15 minutes with a mini set? That's why flexibility matters. And every now and then, someone will ask me, couldn't I just build a Spotify playlist or an Apple playlist and let that play? The answer is, sure, you can. Spotify and Apple Music are fantastic for discovering music. I use it myself. But Spotify can't look across the room. Spotify doesn't notice that the bride's college friends just walked onto the dance floor. Spotify doesn't realize that grandma just asked for one more oldie before she heads home. Spotify doesn't know dinner ran 20 minutes behind schedule. And Spotify doesn't see that your photographer just pulled you outside for sunset pictures. You see, a professional wedding DJ sees all of those things, and those little adjustments, they're often the difference between a good reception and an unforgettable one. Now, today we've talked a lot about must-play songs. Let's spend a minute talking about the other list, and the list that, dare I say, is most important. The D&P list, the Do Not Play list. Believe it or not, sometimes that list tells me even more than your favorites do. Maybe you absolutely hate those line dances. Maybe you've heard Cupid Shuffle at every single wedding you've ever attended, and you hate it. Maybe country music isn't your thing. Maybe there's a song connected to an old relationship that you simply do not want to hear on your wedding night. Whatever it is, tell your professional DJ. I'd much rather know before the wedding than accidentally playing something that takes you out of the moment. Remember, this isn't about what I like. It's about what you like. If you remember one thing from today's episode, let it be this. Give your professional wedding DJ direction, not a script. Think of it like hiring a chef. You tell the chef what foods you love, what foods you're allergic to, what flavors you enjoy, but you don't walk into the kitchen and tell them exactly when to flip every single steak. You hire them because they're the professional. It's the same with the professional wedding DJ. Tell us what matters. Tell us what to avoid. Tell us the atmosphere and the moments you're hoping to create. Elegant, high energy, country, throwbacks, a huge sing-along, a classy cocktail vibe. Once we understand your vision, we'll make hundreds of decisions during the evening to support that. So if you asked me today, Shane, what exactly should we send you? Here's my answer. About 15 to 25 must-play songs. A do-not-play list as well, if you have one. A few favorite artists. A few artists or genres you'd rather avoid. And maybe a short note describing the atmosphere you want your guests to experience. That's it. Simple, clean, and incredibly effective. And then on the planning call, which at Shane Griffin Entertainment happens 2 weeks out from your event date, we would talk about the notes, the music, and the songs that you've selected, and talk more deeply about the demographics of your crowd as well. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with one final thought. When couples remember their wedding reception, they almost never remember the exact order of the songs. They remember how they felt. They remember looking around the room and seeing everybody they love smiling and having a good time. They remember grandma dancing. They remember their college friends singing at the top of their lungs. They remember the packed dance floor. They remember laughing and celebrating and hugging people they have not seen in many years. Those are the moments that do matter. And those moments don't happen because someone built the perfect playlist. They happen because someone knew how to create the perfect experience. And that's why hiring a professional wedding DJ is critical to entertainment decisions. Not just to press play, but to create moments you'll remember for the rest of your life. Thanks for listening to DJ's Dancefloors and I-Dos. If today's episode helped you feel more confident about your wedding entertainment plans, I'd love for you to follow this podcast, leave us a review, or share it with someone that is newly engaged. Our goal here is to provide free, unbiased content to help you make better entertainment decisions. DJ's Dancefloors and I-Dos is a presentation of Shane Griffin Entertainment, produced by Rob Duran. Check us out on social, Facebook and Instagram at Shane Griffin Entertainment, and on TikTok at Let Shane Entertain. Also be sure to visit our website, letshaneentertain.com. A final reminder about our free ebook titled The Bride's Guide to Wedding DJs. To request your free copy, simply send me an email, shanegriffinentertainment@gmail.com, and I'll send it right out to you, no strings attached. Join me next week for episode 23, What If Nobody Dances at My Wedding? If that's one of your biggest fears, you are not alone, and it's an episode you do not want to miss. Until then, cheers!